Something is happening in our world. The masses of people are rising up, and wherever they are assembled today, whether they are in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, Accra, Ghana, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, or Memphis, Tennessee, the cry is always the same: we want to be free.
Wow. Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. Happy birthday. My name's Veronica Entwistle. I'm an intuitive, and I'm looking forward to your call-ins. But we thought we would honor Martin Luther King's birthday today and remind ourselves how incredible it is that a person like him and a person of very high, it's not just ambition, is the high quality of life has included in the atmosphere, in our atmosphere, some very high frequency energies. And I want to remind anybody who's listening to this for you to breathe in and draw down as consciously as you can the higher frequency energies that are flowing around in the universes, thanks to many people who, when they pass, they have left their, what'd you call it? Their mark. It's not a mark, it's an essence. And we're calling in Martin Luther King's essence, a man of tremendous courage and transformative ability. And he passed at 39, which is pretty darn young. And it was quite a while ago, except that he is still impacting the consciousness of many people, just like you can and I can. But we need to reach up with that mind as a sculpting tool and get at it. So I hope that you're phoning in with your questions today. I'd love to talk to you. And I work with a lot of guides and angels. I work with a big variety, actually. And some are very high frequency energies. And so it'd be fun to talk to you and find out what influences you're using on your life. What is your soul journey about? What was Martin Luther King's soul journey about? And did he accomplish it? That's a whole other conversation, isn't it? So call in with your questions, and I believe that the numbers are down here at the bottom. Are they? What are the numbers? So I'd love you to call in, and we're getting the numbers put up right now so you could call. And I want to talk to you about what you're reaching for, because you don't all want to pass over, but reaching for the sky, reaching for a transcendent reality is very good for all of us. It's just that art of reaching is a really expanding point of view. It's not who can do it. We can all do it, but you have to consciously reach. So I know that there are people wanting to call in, and they have some pretty interesting questions. One of the things I see amongst several people out there is that some of the questions are, what is stopping me? Because I feel kind of trapped and unable to do something big or magnificent. What is it that's going to change in me so that I can feel as Martin Luther King called it, freedom? We want freedom. The freedom you seek, many of us seek, is the freedom from our own what would you call it, our restraints, the kinds of things we've been taught, and so on. We want to reach for a higher level. We want to reach to have a greater influence in the world. We want to reach for much more consciousness so that we can live a kind of a magical life. I'm often mesmerized by the fact that when we work with consciousness, it's amazing how not only empowering it is, but it seems mystical and mythical, but it takes us through many, many situations and becomes almost a prediction. You understand? It's a very magical kind of predictive tool. And working with consciousness is a worldwide issue these days. And consciousness, what does that mean? That means that people say when you're being a dud and you're being bossy or controlling or whatever, people say, well, are you ever unconscious? Which means that you're not feeling, seeing, knowing, and understanding what other people want and do at this time. And your art, my art, of learning to feel about life consciously and learning to feel who you are, what your skin feels like, what your organs feel like, and so on, all of that is your consciousness. And for all of us, the more we learn about consciousness, our own consciousness, the more we're able to glide through world problems and help one another and rise to the occasion. They call it rising to the occasion because the consciousness that we're talking about, which is in essence the awareness that you have, is a movable feast. It's something that if you're unconscious and you're holding your body tight, it's just stuck, right? But if you get conscious with it and you start to breathe into your body and you start to feel the expansion of the energies that keep you together, it's really amazing how you can accomplish magical attractions for jobs, how you can make your marriage better, how you can help your kids think better, how you can help yourself think better. It just is a nonstop kind of a gift. But my guides and angels and I myself are really thinking that these days, because the turbulence all around the planet is so intense, that as we become purposely, for one person at a time, inside of ourselves, become more and more conscious, what happens is that ripples through humanity all over the world. We had a lot of wars out there lately, haven't we? And they've really been horrendous. But have you noticed that there are people, for example, women in power in several countries? I love the idea of women being in power where a country is going through some really difficult things. And one of them is Romania. And I think she lost her position and now is moving back into leading Romania so that her people can appreciate or feel the possibility of self expression and self care and so on. And there's like the people, for example, the Putin kind of character. He's not particularly conscious about the impact he's having on people, on his own people. And I've often felt really, really sorry for a lot of his people because I see people in the outlying districts of Russia who have no idea where their sons are being killed or even their daughters. They have no idea what the game is. And they're not taught anything about that as far as I can figure out. So, talking about consciousness, a leader with no consciousness for life and for other people is a very dangerous. It's like having a hammer on the people. It's not just the wars that he's inciting because he wants the bounty, but it's the control of people's expression, people's inspiration, so they don't get to inspire themselves. I think it's a little bit better in the consciousness in the Ukraine is a little better because people are defying the dominance of having been attacked and so on. So doing that, they're pushing back against something. So it's not simply control. You understand what I mean about consciousness? And my belief is that, as an intuitive, that um, the consciousness is resonating around the world, meaning even people who I can't even think of any countries right now because I want to, and that'll often blank me out. But all around the world, there's the appearance of people rising up and asking for more democracy. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like there hasn't been real democracy in America for quite a while. It's been a lot of money stuff and glad handing and dominance and so on. But there's a rising tide in many people seeking consciousness. And it's not just America, it's all kinds of countries. And it's all over the world. India, um, uh, I'm trying to think of, there's several uh, going. India and Mexico is really important. Mexico has a woman leading, and sometimes women. One of the things my guides like talking about is the fact that nurturing is the greatest human power. So sometimes when you get a woman in charge of the government, for example, and there's a lot of hell to pay already, like the woman in Mexico, she is nurturing people into greater and greater strength with themselves. And also, she's holding against the American dominance. She's holding against the threats from our wonderful Trump. She's holding the people against that, and she's challenging them right back. So she's tough, but she also is nurturing the people. She's looking after some of the things it's going to take, some of the programs it's going to take to bring people forward. Programs that are nurturing are things like education, housing, even just detoxifying the country and cleaning it up and so on. And I don't remember everybody's names, but there's someone in South America, a woman who's making a big difference. I'm not saying only women are making a difference, but I am saying that all around the world, there's a rising tide of consciousness in some people, and those people pass it on. And that's pretty exciting and can change the whole world. My dream is that humanity changes for all of us. And then we begin to be a planet. Because you and I know this. If we became a species that lived into an integrated self, a loving self, an ambition to unfold and unfurl and express, if we did all that, we could be one of the most remarkable species in the universes. And what we also hear is that we're due for alien intervention or alien visitation. But I've heard over and over again, and you probably have too, that they don't want us out into space if we're still warring. They don't want us coming out there with that kind of lack of consciousness or dearth of consciousness, where they could be destructive to all kinds of civilizations out there. Interesting, isn't it? So to feel like we're being blocked, first of all, we're blocking one another from democracy, a basic democracy, giving over to the right wing. And not that all right wing is bad, but there's a right wing takeover. Let me tell you what the visions are that I had for a while. And I see that it's actually activating itself, which is all over the world. And I saw Mr. Trump being one of at the helm of a lot of this, or a part of it. I saw it like a tourniquet. I was taught the word is tourniquet, but my friends are telling me it's actually called tourniquet here. But it's like there's a connection. Think of a great big rope or belt going from one right wing, like North Korea, Russia, uh, in the Middle East, several of the ones, the Sudan, and so on, all these different places, they're getting tougher and tougher. And people like Mr. Trump want to be holding parts of that huge belt that's running through all these countries. And I used to watch it. Over the last couple of years, I'd watch it and I'd go, huh, whoever is in charge, what they're trying to do is pull on that tourniquet, so that what they're doing is pulling a tighter and tighter, what would you call it? It's like you're tightening the noose, tightening the belt that's going to confine all the people that are in these different countries. When we say confine all the people, it's just get them convinced that they have to give over to the dictators. Even our money stuff is like that right now. But in any case, they have to give over to the dictators in order to appease, I guess we'll call it, the dominant forces that are around the world. I find it fascinating and scary. And some of what's going on in the world has brought that particular visioning of my own up into reality. You can track it down yourself. The whole thing is what's American, what's this country, what's that country. But what we need to be paying attention to is Martin Luther King was talking about, we want freedom. We do. We want freedom of expression, having our families, having a reasonable income, being able to travel, being able to, the major thing is to evolve within ourselves. It's really interesting. And what's happening with this other contorted kind of power is people live in fear, they live in scarcity, and they can't really do what it is they dream about doing. And that's why Martin Luther King died, or various other people, because he would talk about uh, goals that were outside, outside of the if people let people be who they really are, if people in America, for example, were encouraged to be who they really are, and encouraged to look after each other, encouraged to have really good housing, encouraged to have cleaned up environments or whatever, and encouraged, here's the other thing. I used to teach school years ago, encouraged to have really good education. Americans would be a really vaulting, conscious species. They would be awakening and growing and inventing and so on. The way it is now, you have a few people who gloms onto whatever the inventions are. I'm not really rambling. I'm kind of talking in circles to say, around the world, that is what the big fight is. But here in America, when you get a really wonderful invention and starts looking really good, then you go for the um, you go for the spoils, and a few people get rich. And look around; a lot of people are getting poorer and poorer. And they blame Mr. Biden for that, but you know what? That wasn't his fault. It's the way that tourniquet has been pulled and invested in for quite a long time. These connections between countries are absolutely amazing. And they don't run through the people, they run through the leadership. And the leadership very often is trying to dominate the market, or dominate the finances, or dominate the investments in resources. It's really interesting. So, my reading on all of that, I hope you followed all that. That sounds like a lot of disconnected reality, but it's not. It's talking about a pool of interaction that people are all doing and sharing. And, and we're saying evolution wise or growth wise, or however you want to call it, it's possible to take that amount of energy, go inside yourself, and get really staunch about demanding the expression that you can make. It's really remarkable. And I know that, and I don't know this for sure, but I see it in my visions. In my visions, the possibility is that, and I won't talk about Mr. Trump behind his back, which I sort of am, right? But what I see the possibility of is his leadership caves in. And I see it like he's like a scarf that frays over the next month or two. That's how I see it as an intuitive. He's fraying. I don't see JD Vance as being able to hold water, actually. But what I really see is the power that Trump has is kind of fraying. And two things I see around the world, there's an international kind of approach to taking some of the fingers of power off of all that tourniquet and anything else that you can think about that's world power. They're trying to pick him, not right now, but in a while, they're going to be picking him off that. And I'll tell you, back to what I started to say a few minutes ago, is that it appears that the evolution of our species, the evolution of mankind and all of mankind's societies is coming up to challenge humanity. And when it's evolution, the possibility of us caring about each other, the possibility of growing and changing all kinds of products and using inventions for the greater good, and dealing with things like climate change with consciousness and not with political rhetoric pushing each other apart. I mean, I really see that over the next couple of years, we can see a huge, well, this depends what happens with Mr. Trump. If he has to go through the 4 years, I'm not seeing that. But I'm not seeing that he's doing anything particularly productive. I see the possibility of many people stepping forward, linking arms, and the tourniquet will be different. It will create a common pool of evolution. Let's call it the placenta of the evolution of mankind. It's possible. It's very possible. And you have the option to be consciously evolving, and I have the option to be consciously evolving, no matter what the media is telling me or you that is really going on and what the power really is. I'm hoping some people will call in, and if not, yeah, I don't see any. So you can call in at 206 202 5011. Oh, good. We have a caller on the
Hi.
line. Hello.
Hi. Do you see anything good coming from Trump's presidency at all?
Uh, Actually, I don't like to say no, but I think one of the best things that's coming from it is a lot of people realizing that we can push forward and we can do a lot better than this, but it's going to take a lot more ethics and a lot more integrity. That's what I see. And it's going to come from the pressure that he's putting us through. He's really trying to destroy a lot of things. I guess you know that. Do you have a specific question? Okay. Do we have a second caller? Hello? Okay. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense to you, caller. Are you still there? Okay. um, Let me put the number up one more time. I'd really like to talk to some of you. 206 202 5011. 206 202 5011. I'll help you be calling in. One of the things that we're talking about with our society is the participation that we need to have has to be booted up. Like what is it you're going to, what are you going to throw into the ring? It's a really interesting question because it's not just going for power in some of the systems that have already been created. Um, in any case, let's do a meditation. One of the things we talked about is Martin Luther King's power. And one of the greatest powers he has is in the universes now, in the atmosphere now. And what we would like to do is take a moment and do a meditation that will build you up. If you change your frequencies, I'm not saying your frequency is wrong, but if you really get hold of your frequencies and raise it, you're going to find more and more that you emanate out there. You bring in really good cooperation with people, and people want to hear more from you, and you get more and more empowered. It's really amazing. So let's do a relatively quick meditation and see if we can't get ourselves feeling very empowered. Let's see here. Oh, so there is a caller. Do we have a caller?
Yes. Hi, Veronica.
Hi.
Hi. I had a question. This is I've been really thinking about Martin Luther King a lot today, and it's been very, very emotional. Are you able to tap into his spirit?
One moment. I'm more able to talk with, well, let's see. You know, he's very present. One moment. I am here. His energy is quite dispersed at this point. I am here. I am in many places because I have been called. You understand? I've been called to speak to you today. This is oh my. This is a tragic time for your planet at this time. But I feel like there is a great deal of change that's possible. Why I call it tragic is because the suppression of human possibilities is very unnecessary, but it is done by greedy people who are dominating. And it makes me very sad. In my day, that was a problem as well. And I feel like we should be far beyond this now, but we're not. And that is such a heartbreak. What you can do is send your prayers over and over again. Talk to, one more thing, which is reach up and bring down higher frequency energies from a lot of the people who have passed over are still very strong spiritual bases. You understand that? And that can have a ever increasing potency in human consciousness. I have great faith, but it's a tragic moment on the earth for humanity. Well, it's hard to describe all of the reasons, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. King, if he knows who had in fact assassinated him.
Yes, it was a combination of. There was a plot which you probably have read about, and in that plot, it was the leader was behind the scenes. The leader was not an apparent leader, and there were two other people involved that carried out the sentencing. And one of the reasons is they did not want my rhetoric invading the power base at the time. You realize that? It was a time of great tension and so on. So it took three of them to plan it and carry it on out. The ones who actually shot the guns, and there were two guns shot, are not. How can I explain? They're not very well known. You understand? That was part of the deception that was used on humanity. the master of it all is someone, and I won't mention a name now, but the master of it all is someone who's very well known, highly placed in the political world, and very well dressed, and certainly someone with a great deal of financial support. It is a classic, wanting to take a power out of the government. Do you understand? I was destined to be involved in ways that were much more intricate and had much more idealism in the plans I would have used in the government. They wanted none of that. That would have destroyed the control issues that were so important to several of the people. You remember in those days, the control over people was even more brutal than it is today. And yet today it's still very difficult. Mr. Trump has got a great deal of support from people who do not want to encourage anyone to step forward and become more, what would you call it, enlightened or independent regarding what's happening and the changes on the planet, whether it's the becoming the cars, the electrical cars, and so on, and even the housing. There's a great deal of control on housing so that whoever develops housing is not breaking into the coffers of those who normally develop. You'll notice that housing en masse is usually very poor quality when it's en masse, you see. And yet they're blaming the people, but it's a plot, it's a plan. And that's very, very sad. I don't know if that answers your question, but what I'm trying to tell you is that it's very, very difficult to break the lock on the business plans that are being used for political means. And the basic essence of it is food, housing, travel.
Wow. Thank you, Reverend King. We miss you.
I'm not very far. I watch. I pray. Thank you. So one more thing is that we're giving you all kinds of information on the fact that there are beings who are radiating out into the atmosphere. So let's do a meditation for all of us so we can tap the wisdom, the strength, and the power in that in the atmosphere, and see you find yourself much more able to make a difference on the planet. What happens when we do this and you build your light, you can make things happen in ways that you hadn't thought before. So how about joining us as we call in? Good. Let's call in the presence. Let's call in beings of light. Let's call in beings of light and find yourself surrounded by light. Yes. And you might feel that your frequencies rise. Try to imagine and try to connect, thinking about all the beings that want to rise in light so they can be free, as I say, freer and freer to move into the world with a lot more choice. Good. Now drop down a golden, well, do the same thing that we did earlier. Drop down a golden light from infinity plus one and drop it down in this beautiful stream. Good. And you can handle the stream if you use the stream as if it's a physical thing, which it is. It's just a little more etheric than most physical things. Have that stream come down and move into the top of your head and absolutely flush your body with light. Flush your body with light and move right through your body and into the core of the earth. And this one is really important that you practice the feeling. Have it turn around and push up through your body. And one more time, practice feeling it surge through your body, mind. All the way through your body and out into infinity plus one. Then it swirls back down. And have it wrap round and around and around your body, swirling round and around and around your body, which will create for you a wonderful protection. It's kind of like a first stole that's really beautiful, except this is a light stole. Good. And have it go round and round you. Not only protects you, but it inspires the tiniest little parts of your life. Good. And practice feeling what it's like to have it around you and feel it penetrate your body, mind. And we say to you that over time, when you practice doing this kind of thing, you'll be able to feel different organs in your body, feel what they are, feel which ones need boosting, so they'll have higher light. Every organ in your body has a different attitude, a different opinion, a different personality, and you start to get more and more in touch with that and see yourself moving through your body. And it's evolutionary. We often teach people that it's evolutionary. However, not everyone is A, interested in that, and B, not everyone is capable of doing that. It takes a lot of practice and allowing the sensitivity in your body mind to become the most powerful tool you got. Good. Now see, yes. Okay. And just see your whole body mind being filled. So I'm going to end this actually, but Mr. King is saying, first of all, he said it's a tragic time on the planet, and we know why. And he's saying, keep at it, because those of us who had to leave the planet are still keeping at it. And as that, you can touch into what these fields are, and how you practice using your own fields is a really important tool for you. So I'll leave you for now. And I have a caller apparently. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hello, caller.
Hello. Hey, this is Johnny Mock.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm well. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I sure can hear you all right. How you doing?
Oh, great. How are you?
I'm fine, actually. I'd like a few more callers, so I'm glad you're here.
Okay. So my question that I have, I'll give you a little bit of background. So, there's a yoga teacher training happening in Vancouver, and one of the trainers recently had one of their adopted sons got into a motorcycle wreck and died in Vancouver. And so she's actually the wife of one of my old friends, but they are in the middle of, it's kind of complicated. They're building a house in somewhere north of Vancouver, but she was devastated by this. Her adopted son passing away and couldn't get out of bed for a few weeks, and so they convinced her to go to teacher training. And so I'll be seeing her on Thursday, and what I would like to do is to help her to find some light. Like what do you say to mothers who lost children recently?
And you know that it's a real death to the mother in a way, isn't it? for her
out.
herself.
Yeah.
I want to say to you, John, that you're very good at this part of it, which is be really honest with her. Don't say very much. Let her speak and listen to her. But you can talk. You're capable of talking to her about the passageways he's going through. He's not, dead is one thing, but he's not really totally dead, as you know what I mean. And she just needs someone to be able to talk that way, that she can cry, she can relax into it. You don't have to have solutions for her. You understand? She's very spiritual, actually. Oh no, she wants to get. Oh, she's very spiritual. Speak to her about the spirit part of life.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So she came to the teacher training. I could tell something was up with her. She didn't tell me what had happened, but her age was quite intense. So I'm wondering how she's doing after going through the first 3 weeks of training. So they do 2 high heels classes a day. So she's getting a lot of her stress out, and so I'm really looking forward to meeting with her, and I really appreciate your guidance.
And when did her son? When was he killed?
I'm not exactly sure the date. I know that he was on a motorcycle that was uninsured when he got pulled over by the police, and he decided that he wasn't going to get pulled over, and so took away on a high-speed chase, and that's the circumstances in which he died.
Oh my gosh. But it must have been recent.
Yeah, it had to have been the last couple months.
Yeah, because it still looks volatile. Interesting thing is sometimes when people cross over like that, it takes them a while to extricate their spirit self from the wreck. He was a handful, wasn't he?
Well, he was,
Just
I mean, he's an adopted son, so I don't know. I know it takes a state, to adopt somebody, especially when they're when they're older. I really respect that when people do that. So she took a lot under her to have heart to help that young man, and so
But it's interesting because she probably can't even understand why. I mean, it's making her feel really crazy. You know that. And it is crazy. I often find when people are going through really deep grief, we are crazy because nothing can stay the same in your mind, in your thinking, in your emotions, And you know how to allow people to be that way if they need to be. They're only that way for a while, right? Thank you for your call. Do we have another caller? Is that? No. Okay. Well, I think we'll call an end to this particular session in great appreciation. So if we take a minute and thank the guides and angels, your guides and angels, and Martin Luther King and his higher self or his essential self. Good. Thank you so much for being here. We send you all love and ongoing, and know that you're becoming part of an amazing consciousness stream of light. Thank you.
something is happening in our world. The masses of people are rising up, and wherever they are assembled today, whether they are in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, Accra, Ghana, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, or Memphis, Tennessee, the cry is always the same: we want to be free.